This is my V100MU, which I spent a long time trying to put together with Trevor Wilkinson. I went down to his workshop, which is wonderful. If I wasn't a guitarist, I want to make guitars. I want to be in a wood workshop. You walk into his area and it just smells wonderful. It's great. So my engineering skills from my misspent youth, I was an apprentice engineer for 2 years, came into its own when I went down to see Trevor. And we tried to figure out, because I'd used the basic V100.
Yes, the
GT, which was fabulous. I absolutely loved it. I loved the feel of it. I loved the weight of it. And I said to Trevor, look, how easy would it be to fit a vibrola to that? And he said, it's impossible. And then he said, well, maybe it's not impossible, but it's difficult. So we had a look at this, because I've always loved, there's something about the shape and the size and the dimensions of this, that the very old guitars used to have a kind of trapezium type tailpiece.
Yes.
And I've always loved these on flat top guitars, you know, the old flat top guitars. But I'd never seen one on one of these, and then I figured out very quickly why. Because these are arch top guitars, and these are designed to sit on a flat top guitar. So we came up with this concept of how to cut into an arch top like this, make it flat, and have that sat in. We came up with a roller bridge, because a vibrola, if you've got it on a hard edge bridge, it just rips the strings apart. Any vibrato does, any. So we came up with a roller bridge here. Trevor designed these brilliant pickups for this. So they're kind of stacked single coil pickups, which you can lose the stack on, and you can roll in and out from here. So it goes from single coil to humbucking in one simple movement, just on the what would be the tone control normally for the bass pickup there. It's incredibly versatile. It does everything I would want it to do, and have the vibrola, so that I can just be able to do little touches, which I did an awful lot in the Ultravox days, where it wouldn't necessarily be using it as a vibrola. It's almost like it gives a slight jangle to the end of a chord, so you just get that slight wobble. So it's not trying to use it as a Hank Marvin wine bar. It's a whole different thing, and it just. The way this has been designed, it's easy to flip out the way when you want to give it a bit of stick. So incredibly versatile, and beautiful neck on it as well. I fell in love with the neck, I fell in love with the size of it. It fits my little hand absolutely perfectly. But all singing, all dancing, but it's a gorgeous thing to look at. If I had wheels, it would be a 1950s Cadillac. It's a beautiful thing.
And of course, you've been using the lemon drop as well. I think that's how you first got into the vintage range, isn't it?
Well, I had read great things about vintage guitars long before I ever tried one, and I remember getting in touch with you. I was looking for a shop that sold them, and you said, "Oh, we'll send you some." So you sent me a variety of things. I told you what I liked and what I wanted to try out, and you said, "All right, I'll send you a lemon drop, and I'll send you one of these and one of those." And when I got home from tour, I had 5 great big boxes sitting waiting for me. I was like a kid at Christmas, and I got the guitars out, and the lemon drop was one of the first things I tried. And again, even if you weren't looking for a guitar, which is when you usually find guitars you love, when you're not looking for one, and you pick one up in a shop, and it just fits. It's like an old friend. It's like a slipper that you've worn for 20 years. It's like it's part of you. And the lemon drop did that. And I loved the fact it was kind of like Peter Green's old guitar, where it's got the reverse humbucker on it, and the pickup's got out of phase, so you get a really clean, weird kind of MIDI sound when you've got both pickups on. And it took me back to when I used to spend more time playing with the balance between the pickups, because it's constantly variable. When you've got both pickups in, you know, you roll down your bass pickup and you get that funny kind of mid sound coming off, you get more edge off your treble pickup. So I was starting to do that, and with them being out of phase like that, it was an infinitely variable sound palette, which is fabulous. But for me, the fact is, one of those guitars costs 400.
Yeah, just over £400.
It's black magic. I don't know how Vintage do it. I mean, they are so good, so ridiculously good. They sound like any vintage guitar that I've ever had. I mean, as in vintage, as an old guitar that I've ever had. And a lot of the old guitars, you really don't want to take out the house. You know,
this is true.
They're worth fortunes. You don't want to have these things lying about. But when you can pick up a guitar that costs you around 400 quid, and it does everything you ever wanted it to do, you know, you're not quite as precious about it. Although saying that, I'd cut your hands off if you try to take my lemon drop off me now, because it's now part of me. You know, it's now, you know, it's a major player in my setup. You know, I've been touring for the last 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks now, and I've reverted back to my lemon drop because it sings beautifully, it sits in my hand perfectly, the weight of it, the feel of it. As I said, it's an old friend, so I've gone back to that.
Brilliant, that's great. New singles just being played on Radio 2 today, yeah?
It has got it first play on Radio 2, which is fabulous. I've had great response from it. I've spent the last 18 months working on an album of old material, Ultravox material and solo material, right up to the title track of my last solo album, Fragile. And I've done orchestrated versions of these things. And the key to doing this, for me, was finding the right arranger. You know, I don't read and write notation. You know, I make up songs, I make up tunes, I create things, but I don't write them on a piece of paper. So I don't do it in any form that a proper musician could read and you know, translate and understand. So finding the right arranger for me was imperative. And I found a guy who, as it transpires, not because of, but as it transpires, knows more about me and my back catalogue than I do. He was brought up listening to, you know, Ultravox and my solo stuff and whatever. And I wanted to do something that wasn't just, oh, let's redo Vienna, Dancing with Tears in My Eyes, and stick some strings on it, because that's cheap and cheerful and easy. I wanted to take the songs and do something interesting and new and fresh, and make them more cinematic than they were in the first place. And we just finished it recently, so I'm incredibly excited about it. I don't get excited about records anymore, but I'm excited about this.
Good.